attitude that we have in Easy Travel right now, it's rather optimistic, and the spirits are pretty high up. And
Yeah.
we've decided to use this time actually in our favor because, well, it's understandable that we do receive cancellations, but we do try to, to make sure that those tours would be rescheduled for next year, and we're providing as best of an options as we can right now in these conditions get. And this is being the first part, and the second part of being actually, keeping the spirits high is trying to look within ourselves in regards to upgrading some internal systems. So we're right now working in making our CRM system way more adjusted to our needs, and as well we're considering updating our brand, and we're looking into as well some courses for increasing qualifications for our specialists as well. So right now the work is still going on. It's just that everyone is working from home right now, and well, Skype and Zoom and WhatsApp and all the rest of the tools are there in our disposal, and we're happily using those and efficiently using those, hopefully. So yeah, as a short intro, did you have a chance to maybe get to know more about Easy Travel, or do you have like an understanding of what we do? If not, I can just jump in with a quick intro, and then
Yes, yeah. Based on what you sent over, I did, get some understanding of what it is. But yeah, if you could elaborate for the video, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, well, basically, Easy Travel is a company that was established back in 2005, and we are a destination management company or an incoming tour operator, if it helps, just for a broader understanding of the public. And it all started in 2005, and we understood that there was a demand in tours and services in Finnish Lapland, because a lot of tourists had been going there, still are going there, and we're still hoping that the winter season in Finnish Lapland would be still going strong. Nevertheless, the current situation with all of the virus and prices and everything. So yeah, nevertheless, we started there and understood the demand was actually higher than we could have imagined. Everything went pretty smooth and pretty well. And we understood that it was time to expand more, and we expanded further to Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. So we currently cover all of the Nordic countries, with exception, well, not with an exception, but with a comment in regards to Iceland. We don't have any our own, say, cars or buses there located, because it's more of a difficult location in terms of having, your own fleet of vehicles there. It's an island and it's hard to get to, but we still, we do make tours there per request. And we also decided to expand, and we are offering tours in the Baltic states, being Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. Those are mainly like destinations that are working through during the summer month. So yeah, and speaking of that, Easy Travel, as I mentioned, the fleet of cars, we do have our own fleet of vehicles available throughout the Nordic countries, the four countries that we work from, and mainly those are luxurious vehicles and executive class SUVs and larger multi-person or MPVs, multi-person, multi-use vehicles. Well, anyway, the small like vans that are pretty universal, and we've decided that it was one of the kind of advantages that we should take, that in order to get our own products out, our own tours out, it will be way much easier and convenient to have our own cars, actually, and our own buses. So those are distributed in between the four countries that we're currently operating from. And our main office is located in Helsinki in Finland, where I myself as well is located. Well, right now not in the office in particular, but still working from here. And yeah, we're indeed very transparent in terms of the pricing and how we actually form our prices for our clients. We just simply break them down as easy as we have some group prices for larger groups and some individual and VIP booking. So, and those prices are available to all of our clients since the time when we update our catalogs. This usually happens around fall, and we release catalogs for all of the destinations that we have, with all of the tour descriptions, and all of the prices are there. Where we do not hide them in any way, and actually welcome our partners to use them on their websites to put their commission on top of those prices. We're completely fine with that. So the more business that we have, the better in the end of the day for everyone. So, and in terms of the size of the company, we're approximately 20 people who are working full-time, and we're distributed in between several offices. But as well, for instance, during the winter time, which is the busiest time for us, for instance, for Finland, for Norway, and for Sweden, especially the north of those countries, we of course get some project workers on, being the guides, the driver guides as well, some executors for the services. We always we extend pretty drastically during the winter month. So yeah, and that kind of makes the company grow a little bit more. But 20 people appear to be the right amount to keep the company afloat, and to well, I hope by now, we're still 20 people and everyone is still on board. But yeah, I was saying that, the amount of people allows us to process the right amount of, or the right volumes of business. And we're not super large, but still we do the business that we promise with the highest quality possible. So it appeared to be that it works out. So this is a short intro on Easy Travel, a really brief one. So if you'd like to know more, maybe I can answer some particular questions from you.
So just in terms of the question that I had asked earlier about the plans that you might have had for this year before the outbreak became such a big thing. So had you planned anything in particular, like any expansion plans or anything of that sort?
Well, actually, before the outbreak and the beginning of the year, it seemed pretty rosy, and everything went we were pretty optimistic, and in regards to what the season would bring, because we actually showed pretty good results during the winter, and we're hoping that actually for the summer month, for the next winter season, we're going to be receiving a lot of bookings, and especially in January and February, we were working really hard to make sure that those bookings would be falling through. And I personally as well, I've been in several trade shows, travel shows, workshops and all, and met many bright people who were as well sharing the same attitude that the season would be something to remember and to work on, and so on and so forth. But then the news happened, and all of the coronavirus craze happened. And before that, we were having pretty much the same plans as we do every year, and of course with an intention of making a little bit more and delivering a bit more of tours. And it was the main plan. Or usually, actually, what happens through from one year to another is that we do concentrate a lot during the winter time, being specifically from mid-December to mid-January. There's a lot of work going on, specifically in Finnish Lapland. Those two cities of Levi and Rovaniemi, resorts, they are packed to the gills. There are people coming from all over the globe, and there's work for everyone there. Really, it's just like a Wild West. Just grab a client and then make sure that the result is good. So yeah, we're there very much focused on that direction as well in Sweden and Norway throughout the winter month. And during the summer, we kind of shift more towards some individual and VIP bookings for, say, Norway. Norway is a really popular destination for us, and we are present there throughout the summer month with all of the mountaineering, hiking, fishing, some boat tours, fjord tours, and whatnot. And there's a lot of activity going on there. Well, not to say this particular year, but in general, there's a lot of work to be done. And at the same time, we're always happy to expand a little bit more and offer some tours within the Baltic states. But to be honest, in my personal opinion, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, they have a lot to offer. but it's not yet. Those destinations are maybe not yet branded as good as the rest of, say, Nordics or Scandinavia. But there's a lot of different things to be done. Great history, rich heritage, some wonderful, exquisite spas. Just for tourists, for really, like, in terms of getting bang for the buck in terms of actual relaxation, and then kind of upgrading your energy levels, to say so. Baltic states have a lot to offer. I'm just thinking that we need to push it through a little bit more harder from our side. Maybe market it somehow. Maybe cooperate more with the local tour like travel authorities there in order to promote this destination. And this was all in regards to the plans that we had. So basically, winter time it's Lapland, it's winter activities and everything. Summer it's Norway and the Baltic states. So these were the plans.
Okay. And of course, about COVID-19, when the outbreak came through, how was your initial reaction versus how is it now?
Well, do you want like more of my own personal view, or you want like more of a corporate?
In terms of the business?
In terms of the business, yeah. Well, I think like the first news hit somewhere in like not mid-March. I would say end of February, beginning of March. So I went to Copenhagen on this workshop organized by European Tourist Association and Tourism Association, and it was 25th, 26th of February, and I personally was already having concerns that I should be wearing some kind of a hazmat suit and a mask when I will be flying out, but none of the people in the airport I've seen were wearing masks or whatnot, and of course all of the connections, all of the flights were still going strong, and there was no issue whatsoever. Then maybe a week in, I was discussing this with our boss, who already it was kind of a slowly turning and gaining momentum. In the beginning, I wouldn't say that we were paying a lot of, not attention, but like we were taking it seriously, to be honest, because we thought that maybe okay, this is some local stuff, this will just go through, there would be no issues. But then every single day you're hearing news that are more people infected in Italy. Countries are closing borders. Then the next step would be Finland is closing borders, and there's no movement in the normal destinations that we have, or actually even the idea of this is already something scary, and we need to take some kind of measures in order to take the hit. And it's kind of it went from 0 to 10 from like really fast for us. But we're still, in the end of the day, the attitude is really positive, and we're hoping that this whole thing would flush down maybe in several months. Hoping that, just judging by the tendencies that we see in China, that we already may see in Italy and Spain, there is a high probability that if we manage to just to keep the social distancing at this point, we would be able to to fight this whole thing, and it would be okay.
We have heard about from you, of course, the measures that you're taking to mitigate it. You said work from home is something that you're doing. So do you think in Finland the situation, is it quite bad at the moment, or is it under control, sort of?
Well, I would say that for some reason, how to put it, like Finland would not be standing out as an example of a country that does something wrong, I'd say. Many of the European Union countries actually had the same issue, that they weren't, as I mentioned, they weren't taking it seriously in the beginning and didn't take any measures, and that resulted in the initial kind of a spread of the virus that right now is still going on, even after the quarantines and use of social not the news of social distancing, but like government pushing the social distancing on citizens. So I would say that Finland is kind of is within those marks as well. There was a slow reaction to a certain extent, and the number of people who got infected actually rose. And the only way of actually fighting this would be, as the examples of China and South Korea had shown, is the maximize the amount of tests provided to the public and to the citizens, to get them as many done as possible, social distancing and working from home whenever possible. So the whole right now, what Finland is doing, I'm completely supportive of this. It's understandable that, tough times, they call for drastic measures, and I'm hoping that this would show, because in the end of the day, what is at stake is not, for instance, I'm not concerned of my particular health status. I'm hoping that I would be I would stay out of this whole infectious thing myself. However, I completely do understand that even though without having any symptoms of the disease, I potentially can be transporting it. So, I cannot take this, weight on my shoulders to actually, consciously be a threat to someone. So, this is one of the things that we all should follow in order to make sure that, we all stay safe, and actually the people in the risk groups who are the most vulnerable to the disease would stay untouched, and that elderly and some infants and people with lowered immune systems and everything. So yeah, well, I would say, like, summarizing that Finland does was a little bit slow to react, but still does what should be done.
Okay, that's wonderful. In terms of tourism authorities, what is your take on what can be done to mitigate losses at this point by them?
Like, if you can just clarify the question, would that be about more of what Finnish travel authorities are doing in regards to the companies such as ours, or you're saying, like, in global terms of what the economists can do?
I would say in terms of Finland, and if there are any tourism bodies or any government bodies that are doing something for the companies.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't have a straightforward answer to this question when you send over the question by email, but I did consult with our director, with Alex, and asking him on what exactly the government is doing right now in order to support travel companies and the travel industry in general. And I wasn't too sure what is done, like, on a global scale or even on a Finnish scale. But what he explained to me is that the government suggested to get people on half-day work or lay them off, or just make sure that they are working half-time. Potentially, what might be an option. And as well, there was this kind of suggestion that the companies can postpone their tax payouts for 3 months, which eventually would have to pay anyway. But in the end, like, it's not clear to us yet on what exact steps are being taken or suggested by the Finnish travel authorities. And also they suggested, like, a small release, or actually, how it's called. Oh my God, I forgot the name for that in English. Just a second, I'll have to Google translate that one because, yeah. In terms of the bank loans, we don't have any bank loans on our. So yeah, like bank loan reliefs, they were suggesting that as well, meaning that as long as the company does have any loans in the bank, they would be relieved or maybe given, like, a better interest rate or whatnot. But it's not applicable to us, simply because we don't have any loans in the bank and we're operating from our own savings and everything. So yeah, I would say that, summarizing, the Finnish travel authorities potentially are planning in unison. I'm sorry, in close relation with the Finnish government. They're planning out a way of helping companies in the time of crisis, not only for the travel industry, but for the whole economy overall. Up until now, I wouldn't be able to comment on this, what kind of measures would be would be made in order to support us, in particular, like easy travel. So I wasn't too sure on this, and I'm still not too sure on the answer to this question.
Probably too early.
Yeah, it's maybe too early.
Situation too.
Yeah.
So in terms of a message that you'd like to give to the community, because everybody's in such a, well, I would say a difficult position. So any message you'd like to provide?
Well, first of all, to keep the spirits high, and that it's always darkest before the dawn, and that in the time of crisis, it's kind of a question of perspective on how you look at it. If eventually you would be panicking, you would not be able to achieve anything pretty much. But if you're cold-headed and you're able to kind of lay out the vision and what needs to be done, I would suggest to look internally and focus on some internal processes within the company in order to stay afloat, in order to become stronger and actually more kind of adjustable towards the new needs of the world. And also, I would say that many would consider this is not the best of times to extend the networks and to get to know more people within your reach. But I would say that this is pretty much good time. Many companies who would not have considered switching suppliers, for instance, during the busy season, busy summer season that is right now, or should have been right now, they would actually have some spare time for a quick chat, and maybe in the future you would be able to, already when this whole thing comes down, you would be able to have the partners that you weren't imagining of having during the time when you were actually concentrated so much on everyday business. So this is kind of a long answer, but I hope you would be able to get the main points from there.
That is absolutely wonderful. So yeah, those were pretty much all the questions I had. So thank you so much for taking the time.
All right, awesome. Shivani, it was a pleasure. You have a great day. Yeah.
Stay safe.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.